Hello coders, welcome to TechChemistry. Welcome to this session. In this session, we are going to learn how to create a basic project in Django. So before creating or running a project, I have done a few basic requirements. The first is that I have created a new folder called Django programs in my G drive, local disk drive. Okay. Also, we need to go to Anaconda Navigator and we have already created an environment. So we need to click on this environment and then launch our Visual Studio Code application. So once the Visual Studio Code application is launched, we need to open the folder. So you need to click on File, go to Open Folder and select the folder that we have created. So I have created Django programs in my local disk drive G. Okay, so select this folder and you can see that Visual Studio Code is loading this screen for this particular folder. So you can see the folder name over here and this is known as Explorer. So this Explorer will show you all the files which are open. Currently none of the files are open right now. And once this Explorer is open, we can close this. This is just a get started page. We can close this. We'll close this right now. And we also need a terminal to create the project. So to create a terminal, if you do not see a terminal on your screen, if a terminal is not visible, you can either go to view and click on terminal over here. That is if the terminal is already on, but right now this is a new project. The screen has been loaded right now, so I need to go to terminal and click on new terminal. Okay, so when I click on new terminal, you can see I'm getting the terminal over here. This is for debug console messages. This is for my SQL console messages, and this is my terminal. Okay, and this is over here we are going to create a project. So let's create a project in Django. And in Django, there is a command. So before you run a Django project, it would be better if you just check if it is we have logged into the correct virtual environment. So to check that, you need to give the command Django-admin space minus minus or hyphen hyphen version. Okay. And when you give the version, my version is 3.1.2, but I believe in the current version is Django 4.0. So once you get the version number, you need to get any version number. Okay, so once you get a version number, that means you're ready to go. So let's create a Django project. Now Django admin is actually a command line utility and it is used for an administrative task like for creating a project, a new project. Okay, so what do you mean by a project in Django is when you create a website, that entire website will be called as a project. And this website can have a multiple applications within it. One of the applications, let's say you're creating an e-com site. So one of the applications would be one application is dedicated fully for the product. The other application is dedicated for login registration purposes. So we can divide the tasks into multiple applications. So a project can have multiple applications. Okay. So right now we are going to create a project. So let's create a project. The command to create a project is Django admin. Django admin start project. And then we can give a user defined project name. So let's call it as PRJ1. So this is my first project. I'm calling it as PRJ1 and press enter. So once you press enter, you can see that there's a folder PRJ1 coming on your left hand side on your screen in the Explorer window. So when I click on this PRJ1, you can also see there is a subfolder called PRJ1 and then there is a file called manage.py. Manage.py is an important file. It's a Python file and if you can see there are a lot of codes within this. So these codes are to run the administrative task of a project. So if you would like to create an application, if you would like to run a project, if you want to create tables, for all these tasks, henceforth manage.py will be used. Okay, so it's basically doing all the jobs that is similar to Django admin, but then Django admin is used for project and manage.py will be used for all the other tasks in a project. Okay, now let's go back to this project one. This is our subfolder, and you can see there is a settings.py and urls.py. Now settings.py is the Python file where you're going to write all the settings for your project. So basically you will be seeing that there is this base dir which tells you which is the base directory for the project to run, okay, the root directory. And then we can also see the security code which is unique for each and every project. Debug currently is true, okay. We also have installed apps, and this is important right now because when you are adding an application it needs to be mentioned over here. These are the middlewares which are by default given by Django. We can also see the templates. We will be learning templates later on, and templates are folders which store your HTML files, okay. And we can also see that Django uses the default SQLite 3 database. We can also add other databases like MySQL, Postgres, etc. But right now its default is SQLite 3. So our first project will be using SQLite 3 as the base database. For routing purposes, Django has a URLs, Universal Resource Locators Python file. You can see that all of these names are in plural. So urls.py gives us the Python file to route. That is, when you click on a URL, it tells us to open a particular file, etc. So that routing is given by the urls.py in Django. So these are some of the basic things. Now let's just run our first basic project. Now to run a basic project, a command is python manage.py run server. But then if you observe, manage.py is within the prj1 folder. So if I write this command right now, I'm going to get an error because this file is not inside the path Django programs. It's within Django programs prj1 folder. So if I type python manage.py run server, you will get an error stating that we cannot open the file manage.py as no such file or directory is existing. It's reasonable because it's not under the Django programs folder. It's under the Django programs folder, and within that inside the prj1 folder. So we need to change, or we need to go to the subfolder prj1, and we need to use the command cd, that stands for change directory prj1. So this, now if you can see, I have gone into Django prjs, and in within that I have gone to this prj. Now I can access my manage.py, okay. So let me just close this, yeah. So now let me just run once again python manage.py run server. And this is now going to run our local host, okay. Our local host is 127.0.0.1, and 8000 is the port number for Django, okay. So we are running this locally. We do not need any internet help right now for this, okay. So you can see this page. If you get this page, it means that the installation and Django project has been working successfully. There is no issues right now. If you go back and see behind the scenes, you are getting these messages. Okay, it's telling that Django is running. See, and if you would like to come back to your command prompt, you need to press Control break. But then there is no break command on our keyboard right now. So instead of control break, we can press control and C. So I'm going to press control C, and you can see I have come back to my command prompt. So this is our basic Django project. So in this session, we saw how to create a project and run the project. In the next session, we'll be creating an application within the project and we'll run the project.